The snow came early that year. By mid-October, it was already thick on the trail, clinging to wagon wheels, soaking through worn boots, and turning the wind into something that felt like punishment. The emigrants had already walked over 1,000 miles. Their clothes hung in tatters. Children coughed through the nights, and fires no longer warmed them. Still, they pressed westward, clinging to the belief that salvation waited in the Salt Lake Valley. Among them was the Enoch Train Company, more than 500 Mormon pioneers from England and Wales, most of them poor, many already ill. They had left Iowa City late in the season pulling handcarts, small wooden rigs meant to carry all their belongings across plains, rivers, and mountains. Brigham Young had called it a miracle of faith, but that faith would be tested beyond anything they imagined. The carts were rough-built and overloaded. Their wheels splintered under weight. Their rations were meager, just flour, dried beans, and hard bread. There were no extra coats, no tents with sewn seams. Some wore shoes made of canvas. Some had none at all. By the time they reached Nebraska, the first snows began to fall. Frostbite crept in as quietly as the night. Fingers turned purple, feet blistered and split. Mothers huddled with their children inside makeshift shelters, whispering songs to fight the silence. In Wyoming, the wind hardened. The Missouri River crossings grew treacherous. Fast currents, icy banks, trembling hands on rope ferries. Some carts tipped and sank. Others cracked open and spilled belongings into the water. The trail was no longer a path. It was a gauntlet. At Rocky Ridge, everything changed. It was the steepest climb they'd faced. High altitude, brutal cold, deep snow. A late October blizzard swept across the ridgeline with a roar. Visibility dropped to feet. Temperatures plummeted below zero. Still, they climbed. One man pulled his handcart for 15 straight hours. Another carried his sister on his back when she could no longer walk. The snow was waist deep. The trail vanished under drifts. That night, dozens died. There was no time to dig proper graves. The earth was frozen solid. Some were buried under snowbanks marked with sticks. Others were wrapped in canvas and laid beneath scrub brush. Children slept beside their dead siblings. The wind carried no sound but the rustle of cloth and the soft creak of frozen carts. And yet, they walked on. The Enoch Train Company was just one of several late handcart groups, alongside the Willie and Martin companies, all trapped by the same early winter. In total, more than 1,000 souls were stranded on the high plains, caught in snowstorms, with no way back. Rescuers from Salt Lake eventually arrived, but many had already succumbed. Those who survived reached the valley weeks later, gaunt and ghost-like. Witnesses described hollow eyes and blackened limbs. One girl arrived with both feet frozen solid. Another man, blind from snow blindness, was carried on a stretcher of sticks. The city had never seen such suffering. In the end, over 200 emigrants from that season died, many from cold, some from hunger, and some from sheer exhaustion. The Enoch Train Company's losses were absorbed into the larger catastrophe. Leaders called it a sacrifice. Survivors called it something else, something they wouldn't speak of again. But in the quiet years that followed, a few recalled what they saw. One man said, "We buried our dead in the snow and walked on. That was our trail." Thank you for listening to Deserted Trails. Subscribe for more forgotten stories from the old frontier.